What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be peeking pretty closely over here at the altcoin market. Now, of course, we'll poke over there at the Bitcoin price chart as well, but I've been playing with these charts all morning and wanted to show you a couple of things that I've discovered in here. Obviously, it's a highly unknown time right now with all the fallout that happened from FTX and any contagion that is going to be spreading from this. One of the big concerns out there has to do with Grayscale. Back on November 15th, I had posted over here on Twitter, hey, Grayscale, digital currency group, Barry Silbert. Pretty quiet over there. Grayscale writes a tweet just about every day and hasn't since pre-FTX bankruptcy on November 8th. None of the accounts have acknowledged the events this past week. Unusually quiet. You guys doing all right? We had heard that Genesis had $175 million locked over there on FTX. They claimed it does not impact their market-making activities, but Genesis is under the umbrella of the Digital Currency Group, which is also the owner of Grayscale. And while Grayscale notoriously tweets every day, sometimes multiple times, they had gone silent from November 8th. They had one retweet on November 9th, but then silence up until November 16th, so a full week until they finally announced that, hey, Grayscale digital asset products are unaffected by the events that are going on. But of course, there's been a lot of worry out there. Well, Grayscale is the biggest holder of Bitcoin. They own, in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, it has over 600,000 Bitcoins. What would happen if something has occurred to Genesis, which impacts Digital Currency Group, that then impacts Grayscale? And people think to themselves, can they even, dissolve the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust? Can they sell off the Bitcoin onto the open market? While I don't have all the answers for that, we have seen them do something before where they've dissolved a trust. When they did it with the XRP Trust back in January of 2021. After the SEC sued Ripple in December, Grayscale made the decision to liquidate all the holdings in the trust. Now, whether there's different practices in play now with these particular trusts, with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the other ones they have right now, I know some of them are SEC reporting companies, whether they have the option to decide to do something like that or not, I'm not fully certain. But as we all know, people in the XRP community have certainly seen it happen before, that the blows just kept coming. SEC sued, price tanked, price kept tanking, and then Grayscale comes out at the bottom and says, boom, we're selling everything too. And we've already started. So when it comes to contagion, the biggest worry out there, the biggest company everybody's looking to is Digital Currency Group right now and Grayscale. And Ryan Selkis over here on Twitter, who's the founder of Masari Crypto, he had a Twitter Spaces with Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, a couple of days ago over here on Twitter. And he had posted here this morning, guys, I'll say this one more time, as he's now addressing the issues of people being worried if Grayscale even has all the assets that they claim, because we don't have any public addresses for these Bitcoins, Ethereums, all the other assets that they claim that they have. He says, all Grayscale trusts are at Coinbase and untouchable. If they were touched, it would be fraud by Coinbase, Grayscale, and negligence by both companies' auditors. The assets are there. It's the rest of the trust structure that is broken. Because when you look over here at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, if you were to buy GBTC pre-market, market's about to open, it's going to be at $8. Look at that pricing. We're back in C19 pricing over here. The discount to NAV over here for the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is about 50%. So we know that Bitcoin in relation to the June 2019 peak over here, we're actually sitting right around here. Yet, for some reason, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is way down here. It's like Bitcoin being at $7,500 right now. So there's genuine worry out there of what is going on with this thing? Why is the price way down here when Bitcoin's way up here? He then addresses and says, we are approaching peak FUD. I'm not saying everything is sunshine and rainbows, but this tech is not going to be uninvented. The need for crypto that is safe and usable is more apparent than ever. The amount of talent and capital working on big ideas is at all-time highs. And I'm rooting hard for DCG, or Digital Currency Group, because I'm rooting for the hundreds of thousands of investors who would be hurt if Genesis, Grayscale, Digital Currency Group don't execute a successful restructuring. We're all in the same boat right now. And so Coinbase does come out and affirm that they do have all the Grayscale assets and that they are secure. A letter released on November 18th showing the total assets on hand, and all the numbers do match up. However, of course, the worry is that they're not showing the actual physical addresses that they sit in. So that's what people are pretty worried about. But this is pretty much the main focus of where everybody's looking right now for any type of contagion to continue in the market. So this is kind of the big one playing out right now. What's happening with Digital Currency Group? Rumors of them having to raise $1 billion, being unsuccessful in being able to do it. Is that going to impact Grayscale? That's kind of where we're at right now with this whole story. So as for news, that'll kind of be our wrap up of what's going on, kind of updates throughout the weekend. Really, everybody's eyes are focused over there on Grayscale and Digital Currency Group. But talking about the charts happening in here, we've been watching this to see if this is accumulation happening in here for the altcoin market. Now, of course, we have just living fresh in this event of what is going on with FTX and all that good stuff. The day after we hit the 200-day moving average, that is when CZ Binance triggered all of the events to start unfolding. Now the question is, are we going to hold these lows back in here for Wyckoff accumulation as we did back in 2019-20? So I've been playing around with a lot of charts. And you guys know we've been looking at the Bitcoin dominance. TXMC had posted over here on Twitter showing kind of a graphical representation of what the Bitcoin dominance would look like should we remove stablecoins, and that there would be more of an upward slope happening in here rather than the sideways slope that we have for the Bitcoin dominance. As you guys know, we've been watching this closely for a year and a half, still waiting on this thing to go into a bigger breakdown in here. But his argument is that, hey, if we kind of remove all the stable coins, the slope would actually be more upward rather than sitting down here at the lows, which as we can see in here in this representation. So I'm not fully certain on where this data is pulling from. This doesn't show it in a new low, but as we do know, we are sitting in fresh new lows in here. But the point of it is remove the stable coins and we get a little bit of a different picture of an upward slope rather than a downward slope. So fair argument. So I said, well, why don't we play with this? We've been talking about the altcoin market so much in the altcoin market cap. Why don't we play with this a little bit more and try to remove as many of the stable coins out of it as we can? Because as we've been doing for the last several weeks, we've been talking about, getting back down in here, the structures of these being the same. What is the difference between this time period right here and this time period back in here? And it's that stablecoins were not as big of a factor in the market as they are currently. At this time period right here, the market cap of USDT, or the market cap of Tether, was $5 billion. So, okay, but fair enough, right? Those, I mean, that $5 billion, look how low the market was at that time. There's a big difference between the market way down here than up here. But what does $5 billion represent in this environment? Well, the market cap of the altcoin market's at like 114, 113, 112 billion dollars. So 5 of 115, we're talking less than 5% of the market is represented with stablecoins. The altcoin market right now is $449 billion, with $65 billion being in Tether, $44 billion being in USDC, and $22 billion being in Binance USD, and then $5 billion being in DAI. Which means that back here, it represented about 5%, but at current times, it represents about 30% of the altcoin market. So what would this thing look like if we actually removed the stable coins from it? Down here, very minimal amount of the market is represented in stable coins. Up here, a significant portion. We're talking 30% even as we sit right here. And just in the last week, we saw Tether drop by 4 billion as the peg has been dislocated. But what would this look like if we take out all of the stable coins and we just have the actual altcoin market in there with no stables? And this is what you get. And surprisingly, it actually looks a whole lot more like what happened back in 2019, 20, 2018, 19, and 20 than it does here. As we know, we came up pretty short in here, right? We weren't able to take out this peak over here on the altcoin market, but when we remove Tether, USDC, BUSD, and DAI, our picture actually becomes a little bit more Wyckoff accumulation rather than less. Because now we can see how high the actual altcoins got up into in here as we did back in 2020. And while this is this is fair, looking at this dominance like this, so I'm not going to poo-poo on TXMC. I'm actually really good friends with him. But if you look at the list of what is outperforming Bitcoin, how much of this is influenced by collapses of things like FTT and Luna Because in 2022 alone, even with the absolute insanity of 2022, Luna and UST collapse, FTX, all this stuff, right? Everything like that. Still, XRP is outperforming Bitcoin in 2022. Ethereum Classic is, Litecoin, QNT, Matic, BNB, Tron, Doge, Uniswap. The list goes on. There's lots of coins that are still outperforming Bitcoin, while all in downtrends. They're doing better than Bitcoin even in this really crummy environment. So kind of a mixed bag. I don't really see much of a difference happening in here just with this drift. The picture still seems the same. But one thing that is interesting about when we remove the stable coins is that we start to get more of a picture of what we were really looking for to happen here in the altcoin market, and that this would be your spring happening in here. And this would be the final ending happening in here right now. You have to excuse all of these wicks that show up in here. This is an API issue when we're using CoinTrader Pro. But hey, quite interesting to see that they actually look even more similar. If we actually remove all of those stable coins out of there, they look a whole lot more closer. So quite interesting. Another thing to notice here on the altcoin market is that if we did take out our current lows, right, like where is the next support level on the altcoin market if we do not hold this level that we're currently sitting at right now, which is back over here at the all-time high? Where is your next level of support? And that's going to be way down in here, getting back into these levels right in here, which is a massive drop in the market. That's about a 50% drop in the market happening to get back into the B leg of our correction from back in 2018. So to pull back down in there, that's about a 50% crush as the next support level. It's just all open air in here until we get back down in there if we are to break down from this level. Well, you look over here at the altcoin market, when we go ahead and eliminate that, we eliminate those stable coins out of there and we see where is the market cap already at. It's already there right now. It has already pulled itself all the way back down to that exact level right now for the altcoin market. Should this level not hold in here, I'd consider that to probably be pretty devastating for the cryptocurrency market at that point, because then your next real level of support is to go back and try to get back down to these levels way down in here. We're talking more than 50% fall in the whole market from where we're at right now. That's 60% fall from current locations right now. And then at that point, you just say to yourself, where is the bullish thesis on cryptos at this point to just barely go and set these highs like this and then pull all the way back down in here? That's unlike what we've seen drifting. That's unlike the long growth of Bitcoin. So for the sake of the cryptocurrency market, I would hope that's not in the cards, because it'll be a long road ahead should it occur. But right now, things are looking okay. So long as we can continue to hold these levels, we look just like the classic Wyckoff accumulation that we exhibited for the altcoin market in 2019 and 2020. And as we've talked about from sentiment perspectives, the overwhelming narrative when you have a spring moment like this is that there's no hope. There's no coming back from this. It is devastating. It is never coming back, which is what we had back in here, right? C19. We had already spent 2 years hanging out down at these prices, and it's hard for people to imagine who weren't here. Look at these numbers we're dealing with in the altcoin market: $44 billion. When we went all the way down there, we went to $37 billion for the whole market cap of everything. Just Tether alone right now is $65 billion. Tether on its own. This includes Ethereum. This includes XRP, Cardano, all the names you can think of. The whole market cap of the whole thing in here was $38 billion at that time. Lockdowns. Is our health in extreme danger? Very gloomy, very doomy. And I would say right now in the cryptocurrency market is very gloomy doomy for sure. How do I know that too? Not even just because I live in it every day, but the people I talk to. I've had my father-in-law text message me and say, "Hey, is everything okay with the cryptocurrency?" I'm like, yeah, it was FTX that collapsed, not the cryptocurrency. I love you. My father-in-law is an amazing man. I couldn't ask for anybody better than my father-in-law, but it was a funny way to see it phrased. I have buddies who were YOLO trading, who were thinking they were geniuses in the first half of 2021, who are like, yeah, I'm just not adding to my portfolio anymore. And then yesterday at church, I was talking to my pastor. I was saying, yeah, we're kind of going through a rough moment right now in the cryptocurrency market. And he just goes, oh, man, FTX, yeah. I'm just like, oh, my gosh, even my pastor knows about it. So everybody knows about this thing, right? mainstream media messaging. It is as in the gutter as you can get. Luna and UST collapse. A little harder for the public to wrap their head around on why that occurred, right? Something in the software is a bug. It causes just to auto print more supply and causes the whole thing to just completely deleverage itself. But this story of right, corruption and fraud and billions of dollars and drugs and sex and potential criminals on the run, it's all the makings of what, is a perfect story. So when it comes to crypto, we certainly have our story. We have our C19 moment of, are things ever going to get better? But as Ryan says, it's a tough year for being an optimist. And I was here through all of 2018 when we fell all the way back down to a $36 billion market cap. I was here through all of 2019, 2020. I was here through C19. When you spend 2 years doing something like this and you go back and revisit the lows like that in that type of fashion with that type of story, it was very difficult to be an optimist during that time. But I remained one, even though the world was screaming. I remember everybody in the XRP community thought we were going to 1 cent. That's what the messaging was. I remember seeing polls being conducted by Kevin Cage, and I know he wasn't pushing that narrative, but he was asking people, where is XRP going to? And like over 50% of people believed that we were going down to 6 cents during this moment right in here, which for XRP was right here. We were about 16 cents. Over 50% of people believed we were turning over and we were going to head all the way back down here into these price levels right down in here. But we never did, right? I also remember when the bottom came in 2018, and there were a lot of popular names that are still popular to this day that were saying that Bitcoin was not bottoming there at $3,100, but that we were going to go down to $1,800. And that ended up being the bottom. But the vast majority of people did not believe it was the bottom. It was the ultimate fear moments that have marked the bottoms historically. When the narrative has gotten so bad and when the fear has gotten so bad, those were the moments that did mark the bottom. So I've never seen a bottom get marked by, hey, things are ready to be optimistic now. That's not what happens. They always get marked by absolute terror and absolute fear. So it becomes this big challenge in our own minds of saying, it's really bad out there. This is how bottoms get marked. Am I being smart by buying absolute fear and absolute terror, or am I being stupid? And that's why I talk about that, having to have that balance in there, because I've recognized when I've had to buy these moments, I felt very stupid, very, very stupid. The world was screaming it was going to go lower. And the narratives were there to support that it would too. So we'll still have to see, is this the same setup? Is this the final phase of accumulation with our big, fat, scary narrative for our spring phase happening here in the altcoin market as we have experienced before? Or is there another catalyst that's still coming as the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is down 7.5% today, whereas Bitcoin isn't even down 1%, GBTC down 7.5%. Is there the risk of these guys dumping 600,000 Bitcoin on the market? I don't understand all those risks. And so that's something that will be developed over the coming weeks and days, I'm sure, to assess what that risk is. And I'm not here to provide unsubstantiated fear. There may be nothing to worry about with that at all. But should there be an insolvency issue with Digital Currency Group regarding Genesis, what would the impact of these other products be? That's the question. So we can look at these things and we can say, cool, they look good. Both conditions met, but something we weren't dealing with back then was a bunch of contagion happening in the market. And so this is kind of where all eyes are at currently, with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust being 34% below the June low. So we'll see how this goes in the coming days. The market still has a few percentage points to be able to work with itself being on top of the support level right now in regards to altcoins. But like the last couple of weeks, things have developed rapidly pretty much every day. So it's the first day of the week. It's the morning. Markets just opened about an hour and a half ago. So we'll see how things progress for the next couple of days as we get ready for the holiday. And of course, a lot of us are all looking forward to how our families are going to look at us as we arrive when they say, hey, how's that crypto going? The next day or two, I'll try to help find some good comebacks for that. Otherwise, I'll keep my eyes on the markets throughout the rest of the day. The thing that the market's really looking for is some reassurance over here that Grayscale, the largest holder of Bitcoin with over 600,000 of them, is going to be okay. So that's really the development we're looking to emerge over here with Grayscale, to know that this guy is safe. So if anything crazy happens, I'll update over here on Twitter. You guys can follow me here at BCBacker. Otherwise, let's see how the week goes. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.